Hey guys, welcome back to Intelligent Faith 315. Today we're going to pick up again in the same series we started last time. Are there any good reasons to believe that a person seeking after truth should investigate Christianity? And we began to speak about there's at least 5 good reasons that make Christianity absolutely unique amongst all the religions of the world. About 25 or so world religions. And these 5 things we're talking about make Christianity stand apart in a category all by itself. And for that reason alone, a person who's really interested in seeking after, genuine truth, or maybe on a quest for truth themselves, they should be interested in looking at Christianity. So what we spoke about last time was the fact that Christianity, number 1, is verifiable. At least in 3 areas, many more, but at least in the areas of history, of archaeology, and of prophecy. It's verifiable. You can actually put the truth claims of Christianity to the test, and you can see what happens. So the second one, and I asked you to remember this kind of an abbreviation or acrostic, VCR, just like you look at a VCR, and if you compare a VCR to a Blu-ray player or a DVD, you can understand its inferiority very quickly. And so by remembering VCR, you're going to be able to see the inferiority of these other belief systems of the world because of these very unique features that Christianity alone possesses. So again, number 1, it's verifiable. Number 2, the C in VCR, is it's compatible. It's compatible with what we see in the world around us. In other words, you have to ask yourself a question. If Christianity was really true, when I walk out of my door, what would I expect to see when I look around the world? What would I expect to actually be there? This is a huge question that you need to ask yourself. Why? Because if I claim to have a certain philosophy, if I claim to have a certain view about the world or about life, but yet when I walk outside of my door, I have to leave this view of mine behind because it's incompatible with the way that I really live my life, well then this is not a good worldview. Let me show you what I mean. Let me contrast it with some worldviews that are not compatible. For example, Hinduism. Hinduism, one of the tenets of their belief system is they believe in something called Maya. Maya is the illusion of reality. In other words, for the Hindu or the pantheist, and this is also a part of Buddhism as well, they believe that reality itself is really an illusion. And so suffering, pain, evil, sin, what have you, these things are not real. Okay? And so that's pretty interesting and it's pretty problematic because when I walk out of my door, if I cross the street or go to work with that in mind, that reality is an illusion, it's going to create some problems for me. I mean, imagine crossing the street believing that reality was an illusion. Really, you shouldn't look both ways, right? If reality is an illusion and there's a semi-truck coming down the street, then why would I look both ways? Or what about the fact of evil or sin or suffering in the world? As a pantheist or as a Hindu, you really shouldn't ever allow yourself to get upset about any of the injustices or moral evils that you see happening in the world around you. Why? Because, well, it's Maya. It's an illusion. But you see, pantheists don't act like that. Most pantheists, when they walk out of their door and they confront these type of situations, even something as simple as crossing the street, their worldview is not compatible with that part of their day, and so they just kind of leave it behind. And so Hinduism is not a compatible worldview with what we discover in reality. Neither is atheism, for that matter. Why is that so? Well, if you take atheism to its logical furthest conclusion, the fullest extent of those beliefs, if atheism is true and then there is no God, then there is no ultimate morals, there is no ultimate value, no ultimate meaning, no ultimate value, no ultimate purpose. No meaning personally, no values morally, and no purpose ultimately. But that's a pretty harsh world to live in. A world where there is no meaning to life, there's no meaning for anything. There are no values. You can't say right or wrong or use words like good or evil. And there's no ultimate purpose to life. I may find a small purpose in this moment or that moment, but ultimately, because I will perish, and the whole solar system and the universe itself will perish eventually in heat death, according to atheism, well, there's just no ultimate purpose that truly exists. But atheists don't live like that. You see, some do. A very, very few of them do. I suppose this would be atheists like Friedrich Nietzsche, the modern day father of atheism from Germany in the early 20th century. He was a consistent atheist. He ended up going into imbecility, and I believe he also committed suicide. He was a consistent atheist. I believe Albert Camus, the French novelist, he was also a consistent atheist. But you see, most atheists, they do believe in some type of morality. That they shouldn't, and they don't really have any basis for that philosophically, but they do believe in right or wrong. So you see, their worldview is incompatible with what they encounter out in the real world. So now let's take Christianity. Is Christianity compatible? When I walk out of my front door and I encounter the world, is it compatible with what I see? Well, I think that it is. Why? Well, as a Christian, if there really is a God, if he is a rational, intelligent, moral being who loves me, he has created me in his image, according to the Christian scriptures, according to Christian worldview. Well, I would expect to then find certain things in reality. In other words, my beliefs would match up with what I discover in reality like pieces of a puzzle. For example, as a Christian, I would expect to discover laws of logic. I would expect for logic and reason to be an actual feature of reality as I look around me. Why? Because God himself is a rational being. He is a rational being and created me as a rational being, and so I would expect to find something to this effect of logic or rationale within the human thinking operations that we perform. So do we find that? Is there such a thing as laws of logic? Absolutely. Laws such as non-contradiction, the law of non-contradiction, that A cannot be A and non-A at the same time and in the same sense. Or the law of identity, or the law of existence, that I am, or the law of causality, or the law of the excluded middle. And so these are and there's different names for them. Some people call them first principles. Some people call them, foundations or foundationalism. Most people refer to them as the laws of logic. Now you see, the funny thing is that if you want to deny the laws of logic, you have to assume the laws of logic to then try to deny them. Okay? And so what I'm trying to say is that they actually exist, and they're basically undeniable and inescapable. Even the atheist or the humanist or the evolutionist or the pantheist, though they would prefer to not believe in these things, they seem to be an objective feature of reality, and that's compatible with the Christian worldview. We would expect to find laws of logic in our universe, in our world, in our own thinking, because God is a rational being. He has created us as rational creatures as well. Not just laws of logic, we would also expect to find laws of mathematics. Why? Because God is an intelligent being who has designed and created the world in a very specific and intelligently designed fashion. We would expect to find principles like this at work, and we actually do. We find, for example, certain fine-tuning mathematical constants in the universe, such as the speed of light. The speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second, or 186,000 miles per second. This cannot vary. It happens to be basically the speed limit of the universe. It's a mathematical constant that does not change. What about the gravitational constant, the force of gravity? What about the cosmological constant? In 1929, Edwin Hubble observed the universe was expanding at a certain rate, and this is now called the cosmological constant, the speed of the expansion of the universe. We find laws of mathematics, physical constants. I mean, even mathematics itself. How is it even really possible that such a fact of reality could exist, like mathematics, arithmetic? It's immaterial. But yet we all agree that 2 plus 2 must necessarily equal 4. How is it even possible that the laws of mathematics and mathematical constants and values do indeed exist? Well, because we do believe that there is an intelligent designer. And as part of the design that we do see out in the universe and in nature, the laws of mathematics are a part of that. That's compatible, though, with a Christian worldview. Not with atheism, not with evolutionism, or evolution, not with pantheism, but certainly it is with Christianity. So we find laws of logic, laws of mathematics, constants of nature, but we also find, lastly, laws of morality. God is a moral being. He is perfectly good within his nature, and he has created us as moral beings and moral agents. And so we would expect to find some type of a moral law within operation within humanity.